This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Some honest talk, some straight talk about a difficult issue, a divisive issue, maybe the most divisive issue in the country right now, abortion. Let's talk about it for a moment. Let me tell you where I stand first so you know exactly where I am on the issue of abortion before I weigh in here with a thought or two. I'm pro-life. I've always called myself pro-life. I wasn't always pro-life. I'm generally very libertarian by nature. And when I was a young man, I was pro-choice because I didn't want the government telling a woman what to do with her body. I generally still believe that. But as I studied the issue over the years, it became clear to me that there's a point in a pregnancy where that life needs to be protected. Society needs to protect that life. That's what makes this issue of abortion so damn tough, because I am libertarian and I don't want the government telling me what to do or telling you what to do or telling a woman what to do or telling a woman what to do with her body. I get that. I understand that. I agree with that. What makes this issue so damn difficult is this. If we accept that, and we should, we accept that belief that the government cannot tell a woman what to do with her body. The other factor here is inside the woman's body is another life. It's another life. And it's tough and it's difficult and it's complicating and it's divisive because that other life is inside the woman's body. I don't want to get into the issue any more than that. I've always considered myself pro-life as a public person because I believe society needs to. There's a point in that pregnancy where society needs to protect that life. I don't call myself pro-life anymore because my side, the pro-life side, has always used that pro-life moniker as a weapon to go after the anti-life side, the side that we would call anti-life, which is bullshit because we're all pro-life. Pro-life Americans are pro-life and pro-choice Americans are pro-life. Damn near everybody I know who opposes abortion values life. Everybody I know who is pro-choice values life. We're all pro-life. We all value life. So I refuse to call myself pro-life anymore because it's a weapon and it's not right and it's not fair. It's wrong. I oppose abortion. There. I'll leave it there. Look, abortion is in our grill right now, and it's been in our grill as a people and as a country ever since last May when Roe was overturned. And this issue of abortion returned to the states. I want to be clear about a few things. And I'm not going to drill down on these aspects. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. And I want you to know where I think this country is politically right now. And all of you listening to me right now who consider yourselves to be pro-choice, as difficult as it seems right now in America right now. I mean, think about what just happened last week. We had a federal judge in Texas suspend the FDA approval of an abortion pill. We had the state of Idaho become the first state in the country to formally restrict out-of-state travel for any woman seeking an abortion. This is a difficult time. Look, I believed Roe v. Wade needed to be overturned. I believed it was a flawed ruling. I believed it was a bad ruling. I believed it was a ruling that made up a right out of cloth. And I believed what Roe did some 50 years ago was put off the debate that we as a people needed to have about this issue of abortion. So I was glad to see Roe overturned. But to be honest, because I can only be honest, I knew the minute Roe was overturned in the Dobbs decision last May that this was an issue that was going to hurt Republicans. And to be honest, damn near every person in America who calls themselves pro-life, they knew that the overturning of Roe v. Wade would hurt Republicans politically, because the extremist pro-life side is not where most, I mean the vast majority of Americans are. Look, I wanted Roe overturned because I wanted this issue returned to the states, to the people to decide. And it is going to be decided, and it's being decided. And I believe that as difficult as it may seem right now, the vast majority of the American people do not want abortion outlawed from the moment of conception. The vast majority of the American people don't want abortion outlawed at 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, as Florida and DeSantis are about to pass. The vast majority of these red state extremist abortion laws that are being passed are not at all supported by the vast majority of the American people. The dirty little secret is my side, the so-called pro-life side, all of these years, as they screamed all of these years and yelled all of these years, overturn Roe, overturn Roe, overturn Roe. Most of these pro-life Republicans never expected Roe to be overturned. Many of, I would say, most of these pro-life Republicans never wanted Roe overturned. It was a political tool. It was a way for Republicans to get elected. Overturn Roe, I'm pro-life, overturn Roe. It was a way to raise money. And when that day came last May and Roe was overturned, I know for a fact, because I come from that side, that most so-called people on the pro-life side were scared and shocked and concerned, because they knew this issue would hurt the pro-life Republican side politically. And it has. You just take a look at the midterms last year, right? Joe Biden and the Democrats defied history. Now, I would say that Joe Biden and the Democrats defied history by retaining control of the Senate and barely losing control of the House. They defied history because the Republicans have gone batshit election denying crazy. They defied history because Joe Biden, God bless him, made this issue of defending democracy front and center. And it's a good thing he did. But Republicans got spanked in last November's midterms because of the overturning of Roe, because this issue of abortion is bringing women out, especially young women out who were not voting, who were not engaged before. It's bringing a lot of women out who are middle of the road, independent women who will vote Republican or vote Democrat, who are not affiliated to either party. This issue of abortion is a big, big issue, obviously, for women, a lot of men too, but for women, and it hurt Republicans in the midterms. And it's hurt Republicans in every special election. And it hurt, look what happened last week in the Wisconsin elections, the judicial elections in Wisconsin. I mean, the Democratic pro-choice justice to the Wisconsin Supreme Court won overwhelmingly. And the key issue in Wisconsin was the issue of abortion. I oppose abortion. And I wanted this issue returned to the people to decide. Because I believe that left up to the American people, most of the American people, I believe in every state, most of the American people have a common sense, reasonable position on this issue of abortion that recognizes a woman's right to control her body and also recognizes that separate human life inside the woman's body. It's why poll after poll after poll after poll shows most of the American people believe a woman has a right to choose, but there's a point in a pregnancy, the point of viability, 20 weeks, 22 weeks, whatever it is, there's a point in a pregnancy where the state needs to protect that other life. Up until 20 weeks, up until 22 weeks, up until 24 weeks, up until 26 weeks, up until that certain point of viability, a woman has a right to choose to do what she wants with her body. But you reach that point of viability, you reach that point where that separate life inside the woman's body can survive on its own. Most of the American people accept and approve of restrictions on abortion after that point. Did you hear what I said? Most Americans are there. A woman before 20 weeks, 22 weeks, 24 weeks, whatever the number is, a woman has a right to do what she wants, to decide to have an abortion. But after a certain point, there should be restrictions on abortions. That's where most of the American people are. And I believe that that's where this country, state by state, is eventually going to get to. Remember that referendum last year in Kansas, red state Kansas, tried to put forth a referendum outlawing abortion from like day one. And red state Kansas voted down that referendum. Most Republicans in Kansas said no. That's not reasonable. Look, I oppose abortion. And by the way, most pro-choice people I know, the vast majority, oppose abortion. I oppose abortion. And I oppose all of these extreme measures that are being passed right now in red states of Alabama and Mississippi and Texas and Florida. Banning abortion at 4 weeks, banning abortion at 6 weeks. I oppose the notion, I oppose what Idaho did, banning out-of-state travel to get an abortion. That's the very antithesis of freedom. South Carolina debating whether to put abortion providers in jail for performing abortion. I oppose all of these extreme abortion measures, and the vast majority of the American people do as well. Look, what America is going through right now on the issue of abortion is what we should have gone through 50 some years ago. And it's what we would have gone through if not for the Roe decision. We would have had this fight back in the 70s and the 80s. We would have had this political battle. The people back then would have had to have dealt with, debated, and fought over state by state, politically, this issue of abortion. But we didn't do that. because the Supreme Court said, nope, boom, that's it. This is the way it is. It put off the debate. It put off the much needed, ugly, tough, difficult debate. Well, we're going through that debate now. And to all my fellow Americans who are pro-choice, genuinely pro-choice, vehemently pro-choice, stridently pro-choice, I apologize, because in certain states in this country, things are going to be bad for a while. But I believe this political fight, people by people, state by state, on this divisive issue of abortion is going to get settled and dealt with pretty quickly because of the politics. Republicans are getting destroyed at the polls. So-called pro-life Republicans are getting destroyed in swing states especially, but on this issue of abortion. It has energized the woman's vote like we have never seen before. Republicans get that. They hear that. They recognize that. They fear that. And they know that there's going to be a backlash. In fact, they're aware of the backlash now. I think we'll get to the reasonable place on this issue of abortion. Leave a woman alone. Let a woman decide up until a certain point. Come to a decision, come to consensus about when that point is in a pregnancy, that point of viability where most of the American people say there got to be some restrictions on abortions because that is a human life. The vast majority of people, the vast majority of the American people do not support banning abortion from the moment of conception, but the vast majority of the American people do not support abortion on demand up until a baby is born. They don't. The vast majority of the American people believe a woman should have a right to do whatever she wants with her body when it comes to abortion up until a certain point. And then there should be restrictions to protect that. And this is important, to protect that separate life. We'll get there, and we're going to get there politically. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be ugly, but we're going to get there. Because I've been blown away. No, I haven't. That's not fair. I expected this. I knew this would happen. Even in some of our reddest states, one hell of a lot of Republicans oppose these extreme abortion measures that Republicans are passing, banning abortion almost at day one. They will not stand. And I say that as someone who opposes abortion. We're all pro-life. Both sides value life. I believe this is an issue like our most emotional, divisive issues that we will get to where most of the American people stand. And that's where we belong. Hey, thank you for listening. God bless you. This is White Flag with Joe Walsh. I'd love your feedback on what you just heard on this episode. Send me an email. Actually, I can't say send me an email because I'm forgetting right now which email. I just got a new email for this show. So I can't say send me an email yet. I would love to know your send me a comment. Go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Watch this whole episode. Give me a comment. Send me a comment when you listen to this episode of White Flag with Joe Walsh on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. I want to know what you think. Tell everybody you know about this podcast. Thank you. Have a good week. As always, be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.